All right. Let's talk about the Rams. We got three kind of, at least 2.5 kind of intriguing teams left. Rams, obviously, very intriguing.
Very intriguing. Yeah.
And you said you like him to go back to the Super Bowl.
I mean, I don't see how anybody's roster is better than theirs right now. They did lose Robert Woods, who was hurt, and Odell Beckham got hurt by the end there. But I think they replaced him with someone even better. And we'll talk about that shortly.
Yeah, we agree.
So 48 plays above average. They've kind of been a mix, as you can see here, about like being below average and like significantly above. So like minus 12 and then 113 and 42. So I think right around 40 seems about right for above league average. Either way, they're one of the offenses. And yes, it's nice to project the plays, but there's teams that just plays are more valuable, even if they don't have quite the number of them. Like a McVay offense is a lot of big plays, is a lot of just well-designed concepts that one play, even if they were below league average, they were, again, minus 11 last year. But Matthew Stafford was a top 7 quarterback. Cooper Kupp was God. So it's one of those offenses that even if I'm not too worried about how big the pie is because of how damn delicious it is. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about the Rams. I think Matthew Stafford goes right back to the well. 4,800 yards, 615 attempts. That'd be a little bit more than he had last year. I don't see any reason why that can't be the case. 43 touchdowns, right in line with what he was doing last year. I think he has an underrated ceiling, though. Like he's so safe. Like, you're going to get a top 10 year. You're going to get about 4,500 to 5,000 yards, somewhere in there. You're probably going to get 35 to 40-something touchdowns. But what if, like, Allen Robinson is still Allen Robinson, and you'll see in a second, I project him as such. Like, this was a top 6 talent in the NFL about a year ago. Matthew Stafford could throw for 5K and 50, like have one of those like Mahomes break fantasy type of seasons if Allen Robinson is what he used to be. And people don't acknowledge how good of a ceiling this guy has because I think of how safe his floor is, if that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense. And let me tell you what's fun, because I had it last year. That Kupp Stafford stack is just such a nice thing to get out of bed in the morning for.
Yeah, truly, like what could be better than that? I don't see any reason. I know people are clamoring for regression and like, yeah, is he going to, set another record this year? Probably not. Could he? Maybe. But I still think he's going to get 29% of the targets. So 178, 132 catches, like sign me right up. I think he's definitely going to do that again.
I think him as your number 2 overall guy on the big board.
Yeah. 1,700 yards, 15 touchdowns. Number 1 overall in PPR, I will say too. In the DraftKings best ball where it's full PPR, when I get the number 1 pick, I go Cooper Kupp. Because maybe he takes a step back, but defenses had this film all last year, and they just move him around so well, and he's so savvy, and like that, the rapport is just insane. Like that, it's not something you can take out of the game.
I saw him drop, I think, 1 ball last year, maybe 2.
He's just so damn good, and Stafford was so damn good with him and for him, and it's a beautiful relationship that's going nowhere. Like that is just going to continue to be the one. People, Allen Robinson's really good, so he was going to eat into it maybe a little bit. And so I have Allen Robinson, a nice, healthy 135 targets. This is the definition. We keep talking about like tasty pies that are also concentrated. That's what I see here to the fullest. I see Cooper Kupp. I see Allen Robinson. I see Cam Akers as the running back being a clear focal point. We'll talk about the run game in a sec, but man,
I reject that logic though to some degree. Like, Kupp's numbers have to go down if Robinson's really good. I really don't.
No,
I really don't. I mean, again, like you said, like we've seen Kupp catch from everywhere. I don't think he's going to not go to Kupp. I mean, I think Robinson can still have a great year.
100%.
I really do.
They've had 2 top 20 receivers in all but 1 year under McVay. And I don't think they've had receivers with the talent of Allen Robinson other than Cooper Kupp.
So let me ask you this. You got Robinson projected as your wide receiver 7.
How insane.
But you got him as 15 on your big board.
Yeah. And I'm trying to balance out. There's a couple of guys I think I ended up projecting out at their ceilings rather than like the median type of projection. And this is one of them. Like 7 is high for Allen Robinson, but then you look at the numbers, it's like 92, 11, 15, 11. Like if you told me a year ago Allen Robinson did that before last year's fiasco, nobody would have been shocked by that stat line. Maybe the touchdowns because he was on the Bears, but
yeah, I think the touchdowns, but everything else totally.
And now he's not on the Bears. He's playing with far and away the best quarterback he's ever had. Like it's not even close, not even a discussion. Nobody's even sniffed Stafford's level.
Well, is there a receiver you would rather play opposite than Cooper Kupp?
Exactly. So we're now having Allen Robinson see the lightest coverage he's ever seen.
Ever. He's been the top guy for 5 years at least.
He was putting up top 5 seasons with Trubisky's literally the best quarterback he's ever played with. God Bortles. We don't want to insult,
Sir Blake.
good old Blake in London. But ultimately, Allen Robinson hasn't even had a competent quarterback in his entire NFL career. He's been a top 10 receiver.
He's been excellent
for most of his career. So
right. No, I'm with you.
The reason, though, it's a fair call out is why do you have him at 15 if you have him all the way projected at 7 is last year did happen. Like there is a world where maybe Robinson did lose a step and just isn't that good anymore and maybe does fade off into the distance. We've seen that happen with players. He's still very young. I mean, not very young, but I think he's only 28. Like I think his best years, like he's still got a couple really good years in him. Obviously, the way I projected him, 135 targets, 92 catches, 11 touchdowns, 1150 yards. Like that's an elite alpha season. So clearly I think he's got it, but there is that minimal like pit in my stomach. Just like, what the fuck did happen last year? Nagy, Fields, like everything went wrong, but we've seen everything go wrong and him still kind of produce. So there is just that like gnawing little, like, what if he just got hurt and just isn't the same player anymore? Gnawing at me just a little bit, right? Like
I understand. I think that's a good explanation. I get it.
But man, like I wouldn't be shocked at all for this stat line. Maybe a couple less touchdowns, but even then, like maybe not. Maybe not. Really big fan of Allen Robinson. He's the guy that projected out better than, I looked at, I was like, well, I really gotta like round 4 was kind of like maybe I'll go Gabe Davis and then I'll go A-Rob. Now it's like I'm hammering Allen Robinson. I have to if I'm projecting him like this.
I'm with you.
I really like him. In terms of the running back, it is a tricky one to project here. I have the lion's share going to Cam Akers, 54% of the carries, 255, 9% of the targets, 55. That's a really good, 310 opportunities. That's a really, really good workload. And that has him coming out as my running back 11.
You got him as your running back 10 projections, although you have him RB 15 on the big board.
So the mix here is we saw the fact that he just came back at all last year is a miracle. That's amazing. Like we should be celebrating that. He also didn't look very good.
No, he looked bad.
2.6 yards per carry after contact was non-existent. But I'm trying to sit here and say, like, we should be celebrating that he came back, not, knocking him. If he has a full offseason to work himself back into shape and kind of get his legs under him, and by all reports from training camp, he looks more explosive. He's more involved as a receiver. Like everything is kind of coming up Cam Akers, and other than his price, he remains a late round 4 running back, and I love that. I am eating him late round 4. If I'm not taking Allen Robinson in round 4, it's probably because I'm taking Cam Akers because I need a running back more than
I don't know. You say like, oh, we shouldn't be knocking him down. We should be celebrating the fact that he came back. I agree with you from that angle. I mean, I consider it kind of like Alex Smith or something. It's like, wow, right, amazing. Yeah. He came back. Like, let's not hate on the guy. I'm not hating on him, but I still really hated what I saw on the field last year.
And I think that's a really, like, he's somebody I do really want to see. How does he look in training camp? Like, if I can see him cutting and he's looking great, especially in the preseason, I'd love to. I don't even know if they will give him preseason action, but I mean, if he comes in there and he is just ripping, this would be a low projection. He could honestly blow us out of the water. If he is looking sluggish in camp or doesn't have it, like McVay has gone to a committee. He had Gurley and he was an absolute machine, the running back cheat code, running back 1 for 2 straight years, right? So that's within the realm of possibility. But there is like the late history has been all committees. And Henderson did play well last year before he got hurt. So this could end up being, where I have 255, 137 split right here. That might be closer to like 200 and 180 by the time the season comes if Akers isn't healthy. So it is a little bit of a risky stand I'm taking with Akers, but I'm banking on what the people who've seen him practice so far are saying, and just the past workloads we've seen McVay give very talented backs. That could happen for Cam Akers here, and 11 touchdowns in this type of offense is very, very possible. So I'm a big fan of Akers. I'm trying to think of like who goes around him at running back. There's like Breece Hall and him, but Breece Hall's on the Jets. Like, which one do I want? Probably not the one on the Jets.
Taking Akers there.
I'll take the one on the Rams, right? So
Nick Chubb.
Yeah. Well, Chubb goes. So Chubb.
Zeke,
we'll talk about
Kamara, him Javante.
Yeah, Chubb came. I can't wait. That was a really shocking one to me. How low Chubb came out of my projections.
We'll talk about that.
But yeah, right. I mean, again, a great offense that's feeding only a few mouths. Like, sign me up for all the Rams every single day. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments. Check out some more videos. and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.